Number 10 will be a Wings Over Wayne 2023 presentation by Joel. Number 11 will be an update from Fire Marshal Brian Taylor on the fire at National Salvage and Service Corporation. And then moving on to unfinished business. Number 12 will be a motion to approve a funding method for construction of a 50,000 square foot building at Park East Industrial Park and appropriate budget amendment. Any questions on that? Motion to, number 13 is a motion to approve the use of the Hosokawa building proceeds towards the construction of a 30,000 square foot building at Park East with the appropriate budget amendment.
Can I make a comment on those two items?
Please do.
We, of course, our original funding plan on that was to actually obtain $2 million loans through Tri-County, and that has not been successful. We have already put those two buildings out to bid. Those bids have come back. Actually, last Wednesday was the 30 days for that bid to expire. We got an extension from the company on that. So we are going to continue to make application to Tri-County, but we felt like we needed to go ahead and move in order to secure that bid amount that we got. The company that won the bid was actually $1 million less than the other two bids. So we felt like we needed to go ahead and move on.
Joe, any idea why Tri-County rejected it?
We are attempting to have a funding mechanism in place going forward to finance these shell buildings. And we wanted to use those dollars from the federal government that comes down through Tri-County. We are using WCDA as the private sector, private company that is actually handling all of that. The attorney for Tri-County is concerned that there would be some risk to Tri-County. If they're dealing directly with the county, they feel like there's zero risk. But since we're actually going through WCDA, they felt like there was some risk. And as a result of that, that's the reason the board rejected it.
I reached out to a couple of the board members, and they felt like we could work through the process, but it being a member-owned co-op, that was the reason that they were having concerns about it.
And one last thing I'd say on that, and that is they are actually meeting, I believe, next week again on this matter, and we are actually asking our county manager and the WCDA president to attend to make that presentation to the board to answer any questions they may have.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to 15, because it's an economic development project, we'll need a motion to establish a public hearing on March the 7th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. in the Commissioners' Meeting Room in the Wayne County Courthouse Annex to receive public comments regarding an economic development agreement between Wayne County and the Wayne County Development Alliance Incorporated for the construction of two shell buildings at Park East Industrial Park in Goldsboro. And then, moving on to the consent agenda, Madam Chair, we have the number 16, the late application for present use value. And then on to number 17 is the present use value that's been approved by the tax office. Number 17 is our budget amendments, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Spade.
First budget amendment is for EMS, $84,212.55. This is to anticipate additional user fees and in order for us to pay the fees due to the state. This is for the Medicaid cost settlement report that is required to be paid each year. Your next budget amendment is for social services. They are requesting to reallocate $21,390 from regular salaries and wages to overtime. This is just where they're truing up what their actual costs are for the year before we roll the budget over.
Excuse me, can I go back to the first one? I'm sorry, I was
Yes,
slow
sir.
getting there.
That's okay.
Are we actually paying that out or receiving it?
We are paying it out. We are balancing it with additional revenues that we anticipate receiving. So rather than having to anticipate fund balance usage, we think that the revenues are going to exceed the estimates, so we're anticipating additional user fees to balance that.
All right, I don't want to belabor this, but I want to make sure I understand this.
Yes, sir.
EMS charges for that service and receives dollars from Medicaid. From that amount, the state requires us to take a portion of that and pay back to the state.
Well, what they typically do, and we have this in the health department, and even with a portion of our sales tax, they will typically pay upfront 90% of that amount, but they do what they call a desk audit for the remaining 10%. And so sometimes that means that remaining 10% comes to you, and sometimes that remaining amount goes back to them. So it just kind of depends on how it lands whenever the desk audit is completed.
All right, so it's not a percentage that goes back to the state, it's actually a balancing out
Right.
that particular year.
That's right.
Okay.
And we have it for the health department as well.
Right, okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So the sheriff's office budget amendment is number 331, and that's for $509.83. They've received additional controlled substance tax monies. We have a budget amendment for WCDA for $13,954.97. This is anticipating use of fund balance. It is for an incentive grant that was approved back in 2019. We did not know for sure when they would meet the requirements of that incentive grant, so it was not budgeted. This is the first payment over 10 years, and we will be budgeting the rest of those payments in the actual annual budget ordinance.
Will you always use the fund balance appropriated and paid?
Yes, ma'am. Because typically, it's going to come from your property tax revenues, and if we had a good feeling that our revenues would exceed budget, we could appropriate those, but I think we're going to be just sliding in under budget on the property tax.
And how much is the city's portion of that?
I don't know about, is it the same? Okay.
I'm sorry?
90% the same that we have.
Thank you.
Okay. Your next budget amendment is for facilities for $6,400. They are requesting to reallocate funds from professional services to capital outlay. And this was a budgeted item, but we are requesting that it be moved to a fixed asset since it's going to be a project. Your next budget amendment is for the sheriff's office for $1,242. This is to anticipate funds received from their calendar sales and calendar ad sales and public donations, and this does go into special program materials for the sheriff's office. You have a budget amendment for animal control for $4,680.01. This is to anticipate additional insurance proceeds. The vehicle was originally thought to be able to be repaired, but they have since totaled it. So this is the remaining money owed to us to replace it. Our next budget amendment is for the sheriff's office for $22,000. We're requesting to reallocate it from overtime to part-time extra help. They do have some vacancies right now in that department, so they are utilizing more of their part-time help than they originally budgeted. We have a budget amendment for the health department totaling $8,600. They are requesting to realign funding. This is the contract between Pitt County and Wayne County Health Department, and specifically it's for the ARPA COVID-19 Regional Public Health Workforce Grant. So these are grant-related items. Your next budget amendment, this is also your last budget amendment, is for $37,669.50, and this is to reallocate funds between another of their grant line items. This is specifically for Healthy Beginnings, and these are all reallocations within that grant. And that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. Number 18 is a motion to establish a public hearing on March 21st to consider the revised Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance and Plan. If Mary's here, he can come up and discuss that.
That's a lot of reading in that.
There he is. Good morning.
It's thrilling, too.
Yes, yeah, very interesting. No, this is a complete rewrite of our ordinance and plan. I will begin by saying that the plan is basically what the state expects us to report on every year, annually to them. So basically, it's education materials, reporting items that we have to send back to them. It's basically what the plan is, but the ordinance itself are the actual rules. The state sets those rules in the state's Neuse River Basin stormwater rules. So we have to match our ordinance. Basically, we have to change our ordinance to match what they have in their rules. So that's basically what we're doing. It took a whole rewrite. We couldn't just do a red line version. But I did include a document that does kind of have a general description of the old rules and a general description of the new rules. But basically, what it boils down to is now we're going to be looking at built-upon area. So anything greater than 24% built-upon area would require stormwater detention. The nitrogen offset that required is still at 3.6 pounds per acre per year, so that's not changing. But basically, we had to rewrite our ordinance because there was a lot of language change, reference changes, requirements that we're having to report on, all that's changing. So, but the main rule change is 24% built upon area. So it's going to be, I think, a little bit clearer for developers with that. And so right now, in initial discussions with some engineers, local engineers that work with our program, they're looking forward to this. They feel like this is going to be a little bit easier for them to understand and report these items back to the county. So with that, we do have a deadline of May to have our local program approved. So we do want to go ahead and ask that you hold a public hearing in March. That gives us a little wiggle room in case we need to push things back or make any adjustments. So.
There, is the county the only one that has to do this, or does municipalities or other?
No, municipalities and other counties. Basically, the counties that are subject to the rules within the Neuse River Basin all have to change theirs, and the cities, Goldsboro, for example, has to make similar adjustments to their ordinances and plans. So, yeah, it is basically basin-wide for jurisdictions within the basin that are subject to stormwater. There are a few counties, a few towns that are not subject to it, but for the most part, most of them are.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
on the 24% rule, how is that, what is it currently?
Currently, currently, it's more of an well, it's if it's if you're it's a little more difficult. That's why some people are a little more at ease with this new rule. But basically, if it's I believe if it's 10% that you're increasing your runoff, basically you have to run. There's a spreadsheet or a small little form that you have to
So
fill
we have a
out.
complicated formula now.
It
We're going
is.
to
It's
go
a
very
formula basically they fill out, and it tells you how much is runoff compared to how much after development versus before, and it's a comparison. Anyway, there's a couple of methods that you can use to run those numbers and so forth. So it's a little more difficult.
Based on like a sliding scale type deal.
It is, yeah. So, but yeah, this 24%, I think, and actually the 24% matches what we have in our watershed ordinance, because our watershed ordinance requires stormwater detention for or retention for 24% built upon area as well. So now we don't have two different, I guess, ways of looking at that and requiring stormwater. It kind of matches both. Both will be the same.
And for clarification purposes, as far as with the developers, we really don't have much choice. We've got to align ours with,
We do. That's right.
With the
We
new
have
one.
no
Is that
choice.
correct?
That's right.
okay.
And this is the part where the program comes into play, right? The new program, or is that something different?
Oh, the new stormwater program? It is. Mm-hmm.
So us and the city would be basically on the same program.
Yeah. The rules are basically the same, and so we'll, the 24% built upon area, all that will be the same. The system that the state's putting in place that we have to use for reporting and that the engineers have to use for reporting, it'll be the same system we use, that they use. Everybody will use the same, including the state. So we'll all be reporting off the same information as
So
well.
that should streamline the process.
It should. Yep.
Which means it's more efficient. Makes it quicker. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Barry. All right, moving along, motion to approve farm leases between the city of Goldsboro and the county of Wayne is requested by the city of Goldsboro, subject to approval of the county attorneys. Have you got something on that?
Good morning. As you're aware, we own several properties that the county leases out for local farmers. We do that on a 3-year basis. The city does something similar with city and county-owned properties. And a few weeks ago, their properties were up for renewal. The ones that are county and city-owned, we deferred to the city and allowed them to go through the process to lease those out. So these leases were approved and advertised with the city, and they're just asking for your approval. And then all the rentals from these are split equally between the city and the county. So.
In comparing the rates that the city is receiving on their leases, is it similar to what we're receiving on?
They are. They're actually a little bit higher than what we currently have. And I think that's a reflection of, we bid ours out, I believe 2 years ago, so ours are coming up, and so just higher rates. But,
Well,
yeah, they're comparable.
And land's got something to do with it too, the type of land it's on.
Right.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Motion to approve the transfer of 2 HMGP properties to the state of North Carolina.
I'll go over this one too. So back in 2014, there's 2 properties, and you can see it in your agenda packet. They're on River Road, that's just upriver from Cliffs of the Newts State Park. Back in 2014, the Board of Commissioners approved conveying those to the NC Park system with the idea, let me back up, these are Hurricane Floyd buyouts, the hazard mitigation grant program that we've owned for 20 plus years. Back in 2014, the board agreed to convey these over to the state so that boaters and kayakers could put their boats in upriver and then boat down to the park. That approval predated North Carolina Emergency Management's approval and FEMA's approval of that. So even though you all approved it, I think it just fell through the cracks and a deed was never executed. The current superintendent with Cliffs of the News contacted me last month about this because he wants to go ahead and get this taken care of because they do want to utilize the small boat ramp that's there. So I contacted North Carolina Emergency Management and figured out what we needed to do. All their approval is in there. All they asked was that the state parks issue another request that we convey the property and that it come back before you to approve that conveyance. So I do one change in talking with Mr. Parker. In your materials, there's a general warranty deed. We would change that to a special warranty deed to the state, but that would be the only change. So, and there's, like I said, there's a current boat ramp there already, so it would work out well for the boaters and for the park.
It's kind of a midpoint between the previous boat ramp on Bill Lane Boulevard, and that was kind of a takeout spot. They try to break the river up into 4 to 6 hour sections, and that was a popular spot to take out anyway, so I think that.
So they've been using it for that purpose.
Oh, yeah.
I would suspect.
That and the highway right away.
We're just now getting around to do the legal work.
So when we convey it, that's theirs from
It's
now on.
theirs, we can transfer it to the state. Yeah.
And they would still be subject to all the FEMA restrictions of the hazard mitigation grant program, so they couldn't build anything on it. It just stays open for green space for recreational use.
So is the ramp, is it gonna,
It's dirt.
It's
just a
dirt.
dirt ramp. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
okay. Well, Tommy, y'all remember where that's at, so in case, that's a midpoint.
Thank you, Andrew. Motion to approve the use of pyrotechnics at the town of Pikeville on March 21st by 2023 by Hale Artificer. I think this has been approved by the inspections office. Just pending your approval for them to proceed.
What
And
are they
that's-
celebrating on March the 23rd?
I'm not sure.
A test, I think it's a test, right?
Then that's all under the consent agenda. There's no questions on that.
which is a good thing.
Under new business, we have our presentation by Finance Director Allison Spade of the quarterly financial statement for the County of Wayne fiscal year 2022-23 through December 31st of 22. Number 23 is a presentation by Finance Director Allison Spade of the quarterly financial statement for Wayne County Tourism Development Authority fiscal year 2022-23 through December 31st of 2022. And then number 24 is the discussion of recognizing and implementing Juneteenth as a paid holiday for Wayne County employees and appropriate budget amendment. And then we got on to county manager's report, Board of Commissioners committee reports, closed session, and then we would ask that we have a luncheon at the Maxwell Center to attend. You can adjourn from there.
So we're just gonna recess here.
Should we recess or recess here?
You can recess to go.
And then adjourn from out there? Yes.
So this is a pretty lengthy agenda. You think we're gonna be able to get through, so we ain't got to come back?
Absolutely.
If it's up to me, it will be on time.
Okay, copy that. So we got closed.
And we do have closed session.
Madam Chair, I move that we go into closed session for the
Purpose is to discuss matters with your council to preserve attorney-client privilege.
I need to clear the room, please.
Okay, we have a motion
Yeah.
from Commissioner Goddard, you need to vote, please.
Okay. Let's see, what do we vote?
Mine ain't come up yet.
Yes, yeah, we'll raise our hands on this one. All those in favor of going into closed session? That carries. We'll recess for a moment.
We will recess for 5 minutes. I call the February 21st, 2023 board meeting open. I'd like to welcome everybody out today. Thank you for coming, and hopefully you gain a lot of information from this board meeting. Invocation today will be Commissioner Joe Daughtry.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for your many blessings that you have bestowed upon each of us. Lord, we thank you for our salvation. Today, Lord, we ask for your guidance as we tackle some important issues that Wayne County has before us. Lord, we seek and lean on your guiding hand. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance, Commissioner Freeman Hardison.
All stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start today, Commissioner Williams is in Raleigh on concerning a meeting on rail, so he will be absent today.
You want to touch on Commissioner?
Commissioner Aycock is on, he's out of town. All right, we ready? Do I have a motion to approve the February 7th, 2023 minutes? Is
So
there any
moved.
discussions?
Wait a minute, we got, hold on just a second. That was Commissioner Hardison.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
My vote did not show up on my screen.
Mine either.
Don did. Go back to the agenda thing. Go back to right here. Go back to that part. It should come up now.
You are in there. But go out to the.
Can we go back to the old-fashioned way of raising our hand?
You certainly may.
Oh, you went to the wrong meeting.
All right.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead and just manually ask for the vote from everyone, Madam Chair.
Okay. Everybody raised their right hand if there's no more discussion on approving February 21st.
Those in favor of the minutes?
Those in favor to approve the minutes of February 7th?
We're trying new technology.
There's no adjustments to the agenda,
Okay.
so you need to make a motion and approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda, Madam Chair.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. Raise your right hand if there's no discussion.
All right, under special presentations, item number 3 is a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-5, a resolution awarding the service weapon to Lieutenant Richard Blizzard. And I'll read that since Lieutenant Blizzard is not here, but I feel it's important to read the resolution. It's whereas Lieutenant Richard Blizzard retired from the County of Wayne effective March 1st, 2023, and whereas Richard Blizzard has been an employee of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, retiring as a lieutenant, and whereas Richard Blizzard has served 25 years with the Sheriff's Office in Wayne County. Throughout his years, has earned the admiration, respect, and friendship of those with whom he worked and came into contact. Now, for there it be resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners, in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 20-187.2, hereby awards retired Lieutenant Richard Blizzard his service weapon in exchange for consideration of $1 and awards him his badge. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners extends best wishes for many years of good health and happiness to Richard Blizzard during his retirement and his in future endeavors, adopted this date, the 21st of February, 2023, and we will need a vote on that.
Madam Chair, I move to adopt the resolution 2023-5.
We have a motion on the floor to adopt Resolution 2023-5 for Lieutenant Richard Blizzard's retirement. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried.
Okay, number 4, thank you, ma'am. Number 4, a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-6, awarding service weapon to Sergeant Bob Golomoski. Whereas Sergeant Bob Golomoski retired from the County of Wayne effective March 1st, 2023, and whereas Bob Golomoski has been an employee of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office and retired as a sergeant, and whereas Bob Golomoski served 28 years with the Sheriff's Office in Wayne County. Whereas throughout his years, he earned the admiration, respect, and friendship of those with whom he worked and came into contact. Now therefore it be resolved, the Wayne County Board of Commissioners, in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2, hereby awards retired Sergeant Bob Golomoski his service weapon in exchange for consideration of $1 and awards him his badge. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners extends best wishes for many years of good health and happiness to Bob Golomoski during his retirement and his future endeavors, adopted this the 21st day of February 2023.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution 2023-6, Sergeant Bob Golomoski?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we have a motion. Raise your right hand if you have proof. Motion carried.
All right, moving on to number 5 is a motion to adopt resolution 2023-7, awarding service weapon to Lieutenant Robert Chun. Whereas Lieutenant Robert Chun retired from the County of Wayne effective March 1st, 2023, and whereas Robert Chun had been an employee of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office and retired as a lieutenant, and whereas Robert Chun served 23 years with the Sheriff's Office in Wayne County, whereas throughout his years he earned the admiration, respect, and friendship of those with whom he worked and came into contact. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners, in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 20-187.2, hereby awards retired Lieutenant Robert Chun his service weapon in exchange for consideration of $1 and awards him his badge. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the Wayne County Board of Commissioners extends best wishes for many years of good health and happiness to Robert Chun during his retirement and his future endeavors, adopted this the 21st day of February 2023.
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt resolution 2023-7.
We have a motion on the floor to adopt resolution 2023-7 for Lieutenant Robert Chun. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Now I'll ask Sheriff Larry Pierce. He'll come up for the presentation of a retirement plaque for Mary Jane Bryant.
Good morning. He's ready.
Good morning. We're here this morning to present a retirement plaque to Miss Mary Jane Bryant for her many years of service with our detention center and a dedication to Wayne County. And presented to Mary Jane Bryant in recognition and appreciation of your many years of faithful and dedicated service, January 30, 1996 to December 31, 2022, Wayne County Board of Commissioners. And thank you so much.
I just want to say I enjoy my job and I miss it. And I enjoy, working with inmates, lifting the inmates. And I had some good co-workers and I had an amazing sheriff. I appreciate you.
I would also like to say Lieutenant Nicole Reed was going to be here today to be presented a plaque, but Lieutenant Reed passed away week before last after a courageous battle with cancer, and just want to remember her this morning and let you know that we appreciated her service and let the family know as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, moving on to number 7 is a presentation by Wayne County ABC Director Darnay Barefoot.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I'd like to come and present a distribution to you all on behalf of the Wayne County ABC Board. I just took over service there in the last 2 weeks, so these funds are coming from the prior general manager and existing board. But at this time, I would like to present the dividends that are issued to the board at this time for $118,000. And we hope to continue supporting our county, City of Goldsboro and Mount Olive with these distributions because they go out to fun and help our community. And you all use it in very attractive ways and what does help our community. So if I can be of assistance to you in the future, and it's my new endeavor as the new general manager at the Wayne County ABC Board, feel free to call me. Look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Barefoot.
Yes, sir, Mr. Gurley.
Congratulations on your new position. It's kind of come full circle from the William Street days, I guess, but we know you're gonna do us a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. It has come full circle. So,
I've been a good friend for a long time.
we'll talk about that full circle at another time.
Madam Chair. Yes, sir. Your chairman, I spoke with him yesterday. He said, please get you in and out of here so you can get back to work. But congratulations on your new position. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you, and I can help y'all. Let me know.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Chair, moving on to number 8, a motion to approve a 2023 Flowers Timber Company proclamation presented by Julie Graham.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have with me Jeremy Flowers and Arnold Flowers here today. I am here to present a proclamation honoring Flowers Timber Company, a Wayne County industry. Before I do the proclamation, I just want to tell you a little bit about them. This company was recently awarded the 2022 Governor's Export Award for Top Global Reach Exporter. Flowers Timber Company was also awarded the Ag Exporter of the Year by the North Carolina Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. The Governor's Export Award celebrates and honors manufacturing companies for sales growth in international markets. The award program started in 2017 up under Cooper's administration in collaboration with the North Carolina Department of Commerce and the Department Partnership of North Carolina. Our existing industries are so important to our state and county. They account for over 80% of expansions that occur in our state. Flowers Timber Company was established in 1976 and remains a family-owned business that operates as both a forestry supplier and a sawmill. So I would like to read this proclamation. Whereas Flowers Timber Company Incorporated has been an existing industry in Wayne County since 1976. Whereas Flowers Timber Company Incorporated is a second-generation forestry supplier and sawmill company located in Seven Springs, North Carolina. Whereas the company is family-owned and serves eastern North Carolina and focuses on exports of logs to numerous countries such as China, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Cambodia, and Spain. Whereas Flowers Timber Company actively participates in the North Carolina Department of Agriculture's International Marketing Program and works hard to expand its export opportunities. Whereas Governor Roy Cooper presented Flowers Timber Company with the Governor's Export Award for Global Reach. Whereas Agriculture Steve Troxler recognized Flowers Timber Company as the 2022 North Carolina Timber Exporter of the Year. Now, therefore, the Wayne County Board of Commissioners does recognize and applaud the great service of Flowers Timber Company in Wayne County, the great state of North Carolina, and throughout the world, and thanks the company and family for calling Wayne County home.
Appreciate the thanks. So I wanted to say a few little things and give thanks where thanks is due. I want to thank my mom and dad for when I first started doing this. I was working out of Virginia and I rented a yard up there, and then some things happened with some of the trade issues with China, and I moved home, which was the greatest thing that ever happened. And Mom and Dad supported me and helped me pick a place to put it, and then we had good luck with DOT, and they helped us get the access in there and get a little permits, and then
as my business started growing, I wanted to put a sawmill in. So we had good luck with the whole time through. The agriculture department's always helped us a bunch. North Carolina State Ports has always helped us a bunch. Tri-County EMC, believe it or not, they were very nice and helpful and didn't charge me an arm and a leg to pull three-phase current in there. A lot of people in other states I travel talk about how expensive it is and how problematic it is, but they were very easy to deal with, have always been willing to help us. And I mean, I was just working. I never thought I was going to get an award for this, but I traveled all over the world, and the agriculture department in North Carolina, since we had the trade war with China, has been very instrumental in having trade missions to foreign countries to develop new markets. And I've helped them with a lot of information that I had. And matter of fact, Saturday I just got back from Mexico. We were in Monterrey, Mexico, and Guadalajara, Mexico, and did a lot of meetings with one-on-one buyers there. And I had traveled to France with them, and then we have done inbound trade missions where they brought in buyers from Pakistan and India, China, Vietnam, Malaysia, and I'm continually working with them to get more markets for the state of North Carolina. So I say thank you for this, and I continue to keep doing what I'm doing.
You go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we could y'all come around here and let's get a picture?
That would be great.
Come on around here if you will.
Need a motion.
Motion.
Oh, well, let me make the motion then.
Okay.
I move that we approve the 2023 Flowers Timber Company Incorporated proclamation.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the 2023 Flowers Timber Company proclamation. If so moved, raise your right hand, please.
Great. So if y'all come and stand in front of us, we'd like to get a picture. I mean, it's not every day that you get Exporter of the Year.
Hold it up like this.
Yes.
Just look straight up at those cameras and Joel will be taking the picture from the other room, so. All right, you're good.
Good. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
If anybody needs any lumber or firewood, or if they just want a sawmill experience on a Saturday morning, come see.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank
Thank you. Good to see you.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, very big deal. You would have known that would be here.
I know, you wouldn't.
Almost would. Because I knew something times.
Okay, Madam Chair, moving on to number 9. It's a watch presentation by Sissy Lee Elmore.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to make a quick comment.
Okay.
I invited Sister here to speak on behalf of WATCH because I don't think the county or its citizens know the great work they're doing for our citizens. And so I just want to say thank you and continue the good work even before you give your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Quinn. I'll just kick this off. My name is Murray Porter, and I'm the board chair of WATCH. And many of you I know, and some I don't know, so some new faces, Madam Chairman, and some others that I've not met. But I want to say to Ms. Bryan, I think she just left, but she's just retired, working with the Sheriff's Department. I retired about 20 years ago, and for the last 20 years, I've spent what little extra time I have helping Miss Elmore with the WATCH program. I'm a volunteer. I've never been paid a penny and don't ever expect to be paid a penny. And I'm grateful to you all so much. I wanted to come this morning to say thank you. I always, when I come to see the county commissioners, that's the first thing that's on my mind. You don't know how much we appreciate all that you all have done for many, many years to help us. And we're helping a lot of people in Wayne County, and we're going to continue to help a lot of people in Wayne County. But again, I just want to say thank you very much, and we're happy to be here, and hopefully we're doing a good job that you all can appreciate.
And I've given you some statistics. You can see that in the past 22 years, we're at 194,654 visits We're almost to 200,000. We'll actually hit 200,000 patient visits this year. And this year, we gave out 7,831 30-day prescriptions free with a value of $5.7 million. We also started a new pharmacy this year on site for people who didn't qualify for the prescription assistance program. And so far, we've served with 1,840 prescriptions, 834 patients, for a value of prescriptions of $211,000. And also, I've given you some stories of patients who've been to the Watch Pharmacy and how their blood pressure has improved. Blood pressure was one of the main reasons that we started our own pharmacy, because we have 45% of our patients have hypertension, and 27% of our patients have diabetes. So those are the two main diseases that we track. And there were not medications available for high blood pressure on the free prescription assistance program, but now we're able to provide those prescriptions to our patients through the new pharmacy that we opened in April. And I'd like to say thank you for all the years. It's been, well, August will be 23 years that we've been in operation. We wore out one truck after 20 years and got a new truck. This is the third year of the new truck, and we've had your support all these years, and we do appreciate it. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you. Any questions?
Cece, maybe you touched on this, but on item number 5, for every $1 we provided from the county, you're raising 4.57. So that's amazing.
Thank you. Our return on investment, when you look at all of the donations through the hospital, which, they give a lot of money, and they give free labs, and they pay me, so I don't have to raise money for my own salary. It's about $10 to $1 on the total program return on investment. So,
And for any commissioners who haven't seen the new shop, I suggest you, next time you see a park, take a look at it.
yeah, we'd be glad to have you, or we'll bring it to you, or just call me and let me know, and we'll have it there on campus, and you can come see. In the old days, the provider, which is a nurse practitioner, would have to go out with a drill on the outside in the rain, and whatever the weather was, the heat, and so that she could put the feet down on the truck. Now you press a button and they go down. That's exciting. They thought the best thing about the new truck was not having to stand in the rain with a drill. So, we'd love to have you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Cece. Thank you, Mary.
Appreciate you coming. Let's see here. Next is a presentation by Joel Gilly on the Wings Over Wayne 2023.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Board. I'm going to get my PowerPoint pulled up here really quickly. Wings Over Wayne is upon us again. Thank goodness. We had a few years of cancellations, of course, due to COVID. So our last Wings Over Wayne was 2019. Seems like it was a lot sooner than that, but goodness gracious, time's flying. Just a quick little overview of Wings Over Wayne 2019. So you can see here over 150,000 visitors came to Wayne County or visited Wings Over Wayne. But out of that, 70% or more were from 30 miles away. So that's a pretty cool stat. It's bringing a lot of people into the county, a lot of heads in beds, which helps our tourism dollars and things like that. Over $6.4 million in economic impact. All that data is from travel and tourism. I didn't calculate that myself. This year, it's going to be May 20th and 21st. For anybody listening that has not heard about it yet, it's a free event. Parking is free, admission's free. The gates will open at 8 a.m. and the full schedule, they have it on their website. It's wingsoverwayneairshow.com. A lot of performers going to be there. The Blue Angels are the big headliner performer for this year's air show as well. So that's always a big draw. We are a sponsor of this event, as we have been every single year. This money was budgeted back in this year's budget for the air show sponsorship. And so you'll see our advertising and our support in print, in visual things that are out at the air show. We also have the chalet that we had in years past for Saturday and Sunday. Our main goal in speaking with you all today is just to figure out how we want to use that chalet. So in years past, it's been used for a number of different things. But most recently, in 2019, we allowed our employees to use it. It was a benefit to employees, so they got to register for a number of spots in the chalet, bring their families out and enjoy it as a family. And we provided some food and refreshments throughout the day as well. And that's gone over really well. I know that people have been contacting the county manager's office already saying, hey, can we, these are employees, can we get on the list for the Wings Our Way Air Show again this year? Just wanted some direction from you all on how we wanted to proceed with that. Nothing has to be decided today, but just something to be in the back of your heads, because we do need to go ahead and start rolling that out, how we're going to do it, who we're going to invite, that kind of thing. So just wanted to get it on y'all's radar and take some time and stew on it a little bit and just let us know how we want to proceed with our chalet for this coming year. So.
If I could interject as well, the commissioners receive, and often management as well, receive invitations from others that have chalets. So that's why we came up with the idea of sharing it with the employees, because you already have opportunities to be a part of the upfront.
I think you guys are probably usually at the MAC chalet. You know, there's a lot of different ones that go on, and you, of course, are welcome in our chalet as well. But there typically does tend to be a lot of elected official chalets that are out there, and so this one was kind of a little bit different for our employees, is what we did last time. So, any questions for me?
Nope. Thank you, Joe.
All right, thanks, y'all.
All right, thank you, Joe. Moving on to number 11 is an update from Fire Marshal Brian Taylor on the fire at National Salvage and Service Company.
If you got the PowerPoint.
Do I have the PowerPoint? Probably not the question you just wanted me to ask you.
Okay, maybe Joel can come in and help us.
Joel, if you're listening.
Joe. Joe. While we look for that, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners, appreciate the opportunity to come here and just give you kind of an overview of the large response that we had on February 11th at National Savage. Really, before I get started, I want to kind of introduce who I have here with me. I have Fire Chief Tommy Baker with the Moorman Fire Department, Chief Brandon Jones with Thoroughfare Fire Department. Of course, you know Kendall Lee, our facilities director, which is also the chief of the Dudley Fire Department. And of course, Randy Rogers, our solid waste director, which is also the chief of Arrington Fire Department. Throughout my presentation, you'll see where I refer to command staff. Command staff is who I refer to as everybody sitting behind me. One I didn't recognize is Michael Dawson, our emergency management coordinator. Also, our entire OES staff was present during this response. Our 911 folks couldn't be here today because of today is they're going live with the new CAD system today, so they couldn't be present here today.
I think there it is.
There it is. Now, Carol, will you go?
Drive it yourself? Just pull that drawer out, there you go.
I'll try. Kind of what I wanted to do, Joe was a big help helping get this put together. But I kind of wanted to paint a picture for you and for the public of what the response looked like and what challenges were faced during this response. So we'll just go ahead and get started. There we go. Maybe I won't mess this up. Of course, just a little background on National Savage and Service Corporation. The Dudley site where the actual fire happened was roughly 54 acres. It's just a little over 54 acres of the actual site where the fire was. They own some additional property across the street, but that wasn't involved. Their business was to repurpose railroad ties. They done anything from grinding them up for fuel to providing them for landscaping, driveways, whatever they could sell them for. That's kind of what they did. And of course, you know, the site here is highlighted by the red diagram. That is the site where the fire took place. And on to a timeline. Roughly 1:28 a.m., Marmac Fire Department was dispatched to a woods fire. If I remember correctly, it was dispatched as a woods fire, which with that, the Forestry Service is automatic dispatched to all woods fires in the county. So the Forestry Service was dispatched with them also. At 1:35, the Marmac Fire Chief arrived on the scene and he saw what he had. Saw the intensity of the fire, and he immediately requested mutual aid from Arrington, Thoroughfare, and Dudley Fire Departments. At 1:38, he requested myself, CSX, and a DOT representative to respond to the scene. These pictures here, the one on the left is roughly 10 minutes or so after they arrived on scene. It took them a little bit of time because they knew what they had. But you can kind of see what they were facing right to start with. That picture on the left, there at this point in time, Tommy, you correct me if I'm wrong, they were throwing about 2,000 gallons a minute at this fire in an effort to try to bring it under control. The picture on the right, they added a 2.5-inch line, which put them up to about 2,250 gallons a minute that they were putting on this fire. As you can tell, the picture on the right, they were making a little headway with the amount of water they were throwing. Once mutual aid started arriving, I think between Chief Rogers and Tommy got together and decided it might be better, let's try to get Dudley's ladder in, get more of a downward approach on it, and see if we could bring it under better control at that point. At this point in time, it was roughly 2,700, 2,800 gallons per minute being thrown on the initial fire site. I'm not going to hit every one of these timelines. You can kind of look at it. Command did, request Seymour Johnson's fire truck. Forestry Ranger got on the scene. Myself was on the scene. He also wanted notification of the water districts because we knew at this point there's going to be large amounts of water, and we wanted those water departments to know that, hey, we're flowing large amounts of water, so any additional pumps or anything that you could turn on to assist in that would be appreciated. About 2:30 that morning, Ranger 1 decided, talked with command and wanted to do a survey, and we were looking at trying to do some fire breaks within the facility. We didn't really know how these things were stacked in there, but we wanted to see what we could do to try to alleviate the rest of the piles from catching on fire. So he started that. During his survey, he noticed some spot fires happening back behind the fire that we couldn't see from the roadway. So there was personnel deployed to start handling those spot fires at the same time. After Ranger 1 done his initial site survey, he determined that there was very limited access to the site to get back to where these piles were. The height of the piles, the configuration of the way they were in there, it just wasn't safe or a viable option to put any kind of equipment or manpower in there to try to do anything to put some fire lines in, if you will. About 3:15, 3:18, there was some consideration with command, and when I say command at this point, it's all on Tommy at this point. I think Randy had an operational area. Brandon also had an operational area. And Kendall, I know he was in the mix somewhere, but I know Kendall later on, he had his own operational area. But we started considering putting a water haul. And I'll show you some pictures here in a little bit of what that looks like to increase our available water. Because we were limited, because you had two hydrants, one in front of the facility and one that was just west of the railroad tracks. So we were limited on what water we could do. So we needed to bring in some additional water. So we were making that consideration at that point in time, just to provide some additional protection for those ones taking care of the spot fires. Of course, before that plan could get fully enacted, there was a spot fire detected just, I guess it was southwest of the main office building. We immediately deployed some hand lines to that area. However, due to the location of that spot fire, we couldn't get to it. We looked at other alternate routes to get in there to try to bring that under control, but everywhere we looked, access was blocked and we couldn't get in there. So at 347, we requested Rosewood and New Hope and Tanker Task Force 1. Tanker Task Force 1, what that is a predetermined tankers from all our volunteer departments here in the county. We have two of those task force. Each task force can carry in excess of 10,000 gallons of water to the scene. At 445, Belfast Ladder was dispatched to provide additional exposure protection for the east side of the office. Around 5 a.m. that morning, Dudley Ladder 1 was repositioned from the original site to come in and provide additional exposure protection for the west side of the office. And this picture here kind of gives you an idea. This, of course, is after daybreak on Saturday when this picture was taken, but you can see the location of where Belfast's ladder to the left and Dudley's ladder to the right, and the building we're trying to protect there in the middle. This is just a couple pictures for the tanker shuttle operation. The picture on the right is just a field site where they were filling tankers at a hydrant just down the road from the fire site. Picture on the left shows you with the drop tanks down. We utilizing 3 drop tanks at that point. Each one of those drop tanks carried a minimum, hold a minimum of 2,100 gallons of water. So we were using 3, dumping 3 tankers at the time, and then they would leave and go to the field site to be filled and just reroute back. The command staff, and I say command staff, everybody behind me kind of got together, we talked about this and what can we do. So after looking at the site, we had limited access into the facility. There was limited water that we could use. We were already using every amount of water that we could get our hands on, just to protect the areas that we were protecting. And the decision was made that access into the plant, and due to the way these railroad ties were in there, that it wasn't worth putting equipment and manpower in the back to try to protect that back building, because that back building was also surrounded by these railroad ties. Everyone behind me, along with myself, saw how quick the fire progressed from what I call that last spot fire. When that fire happened, probably in a matter of 10 minutes, it was bigger than the original fire site. It happened, the intensity of the fire and the amount of water we were putting on the initial fire site led us to know that we could not stop this as it continued to grow. We just didn't have the resources for water. We could have got the trucks there if we'd have had access to the site, but we had that one access right there where Belfast is ladder. That was the only access to this entire site. So that's why that decision was made, not to go further into the facility. Around 517, I can't say enough about Joel. I know you guys hear Joel. Thanks to Joel all the time. Joel he does so much for everybody here in the county. He done a great job for us on this fire scene. He was instrumental in getting this PowerPoint put together for you guys. And not to thank Joel and his team they just do such a great job for us here in the county. DOT got there, set up a road closures for the area. At 6 o'clock, around 6 o'clock that morning, we dispatched Tanker Task Force 2. So that give us an additional 10,000 gallons, 11,000 gallons of water. So at this point, we're hauling about 20,000 gallons of water with these tankers. Also around that time, when there was 2 houses on the east side of the facility that we decided we'd evacuate. They were adjacent to the facility. We knew the intensity of the fire was going to get to such that we needed to get those residents out. They were contacted by OES staff, and each one of the residents had somewhere they said they could go, so they went and stayed with relatives and friends until the fire was brought under control. Around 6:30 that morning, the Marmac chief, he decided that we're going to move command to the old Winn-Dixie parking lot there in Marmac. And then also the sheriff, he's already gone. The sheriff contacted Johnston County Sheriff and asked if we could use their mobile command, which they gladly brought it over and let us use that for a couple of days. Also, I notified emergency management up at the state level to let them know what was going on, because at this point we didn't know how much help we were going to have from the outside. So they were notified, and along with that, North Carolina Emergency Management made contact with North Carolina Air Quality and Water Quality on our behalf. And later that day, I talked to both of those agencies, make them aware and give them a little more detail in what was going on and what the problems we were seeing were. Around 7:30, contacted Duplin County for additional units from, I think it was Calypso and Facing, brought units in to help with some exposure protections that we were going to have to do, and also to provide some additional support for spot fires as far as grass fires and that kind of thing. Of course, there was multiple spot fires that were being reported in the area, and as they were reported, we sent units to take care of that. The Forestry Service later on provided some airdrops from an airplane. We had requested, hopefully, that we could get helicopters in to help maintain that line around it. We knew the facility itself, we couldn't do anything there, but if we could contain this within that facility, that was our goal. Also, about 11 o'clock, I contacted the North Carolina State Fire Marshal's office after we in command decided that this was going to be an ongoing thing. Our county resources had been there, some of them since 1:30 that morning. So we needed to get some support in for a nighttime operation, and that's what we did there. About 2:30 that afternoon, OSFM staff arrived at the command post and assisted with that operation. About 4 o'clock, the county department started arriving. As they arrived, there were some fire situations towards the front of the facility where we needed additional tankers. So these tankers come in, and we put them right in line, and they started their operation. By about 9 p.m. that night, that Saturday night, all our county departments have been cleared the scene, and our Anna County departments took over the operations for the night. Around 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, the operation was reduced to 1 engine crew, just for the protection of that office. There were still some railroad ties that were really close to that office that we were having to keep that protection in place. That operation was maintained until midnight. Once command decided that they felt comfortable not having a truck there, Wayne County Sheriff's Department was contacted, and they brought a sheriff deputy out and maintained control of the site for the rest of the night. About 12:41 the next day is when investigators made initial entry to the facility. Also, the Monarch chief and I, around that time is when we done our initial site survey of the entire site for damages. Marmac and the Forestry Service continue to monitor the site for containment throughout the day on Monday. Late Monday afternoon, there were some additional operations conducted to limit. There was some stuff smoldering. The wind had got up a little bit, so we felt like we needed to take care of those situations and also try to improve that air quality for the people that stayed across the road. The wind had changed directions, and the folks right across the street on Old Mile Highway was, the smoke was pretty heavy in that area at that point in time. The site was turned back over to the company at approximately 6:30 p.m. on Monday. However, OES, Marmac, and others continue to monitor the site throughout the week for which way the smoke was going, any additional hot spots, make sure it was still maintained within those fire lines. The fire is currently under investigation. The Sheriff's Office, of course, is leading that investigation, along with the North Carolina Forestry Service, State Bureau of Investigation, Department of Insurance. They're all part of that team leading this investigation and what started this and how it started. Preliminary losses right now, we're at $2.8 million. This is everything on site. The facility operators give us an estimate of 1.8 million railroad ties that were on site, and they value those at 75 cents a piece. But also with that is the back building, which was a shop that they used as a shop. It had very little contents within that shop, but there was 6 or 7 trucks that were inoperable on the outside of the shop that burned. There was 2 trucks inside the shop along with a backhoe inside the shop that burned too. So the majority of this is from their loss. However, there was some damage that we discovered later on that was in direct cause of the flying embers and stuff from this. SPX there has some roof damage, and there was actually a fire alarm that came in for that during this operation. And once they got there, they realized they had a fire on the roof, so had to send units on the roof, cut that out. And later during evaluation, I think there was 30 to 40 holes that had burned in their roof at SPX. We later found out there was some damage at the fairgrounds also. I know all of you know the big white building is basically a canvas type cover. It does have some holes in it that's going to have to be repaired. So we're waiting on some additional estimates on damage before we can get a total damage. Also, Duke Energy and Tri-County. Tri-County had a main line that run right in front of this area. And Duke Energy had a line that was going into the facility along with a large transformer that was in there that all received damage. So we're waiting on some estimates from them also. These next few slides are just kind of pictures of the operation as it kind of went on. This picture on the left is pretty amazing to me. That picture was taken at the Elroy Fire Station out on 70 East. Once we dispatched the Tanker Task Force, of course, Elroy's on that, and this is what the fire chief saw when he went out his front door at his house. Just additional pictures. The picture on the right, you can kind of see the size of the fire as it progressed. course, the picture on the left, the command truck that Johnston County was so gracious to let us use. Picture on the right is just I'm not sure where that picture was taken. It's one that we were able to get from some distance away. You can kind of see what it looked like at daybreak that morning on Saturday. This is what the site looked like on Monday. I believe this shot here was on Monday. You can see the difference in it. Everywhere you see the ash, there was that entire area was filled with railroad ties. Now we come to a big thank you. I can't say enough about these guys behind me. The early decision-making on Tommy to get certain agencies involved helped on the back end of this response. These guys behind me, they work really well together. They work well together on a daily basis, and that proved to be invaluable on this response. They communicated well. They made good decisions, in my opinion. In this large response that we had, not a single injury happened. We didn't get a cut finger. We didn't get a twisted ankle or anything on this response. I think in this whole response, they all kept safety as their number one priority during this whole response, and that was evident that we didn't have any injuries. One of the biggest thank yous is our community. I know most of you or all of you know that we got a great community here and great community support here in Wayne County. It's unbelievable when we have incidents, whether it's a large fire like this, whether it's a hurricane or whatever. Our community comes out and supports us in ways that we never thought was possible. But there was churches, civic groups, individuals that would just come up to the command area here. We want to provide this for our first responders. That was invaluable. We were able to keep everybody that was there fed, hydrated, and everything, which helped us tremendously. And we can't thank our community enough. Our first responders, everybody that responded to this fire. We had 23 of 26 departments in Wayne County at this location during the day on Saturday. We had, I can't remember how many Anna County departments we had, but we had representation from Pamlico County, Craven County, Lenoir County, Duplin, Johnston, and I may be missing one somewhere along the way. But those Anna County agencies came in and done a superb job that night, which allowed our county departments to get some rest because we didn't know what the next day was going to bring. And this is a list of agencies involved. I can't say enough, to thank you to Wayne County on behalf of Wayne County of the support that these folks give us. And at this point, let me go back. At this point, Tommy wants to say anything, I'm going to let him get up, and if you have any questions or anything, we'll be glad to ask.
I won't take much of your time. As chief of the fire department of Moormike, I do appreciate everything that everybody did. Everybody responded to our community with a strong presence. Everybody stayed safe. I appreciate Mr. Commissioner Gurley and Commissioner Wayne Aycock. They both showed up on scene and helped us. There was a lot of collaboration of getting fuel, just the logistics into things. We had to get a fuel truck there. Then we realized, these newer trucks run DEF fluid, so it's pallet of DEF fluid. Just allocating resources, facilities for everybody to be able to use the restroom, dumpsters. There was just so many things involved. But I appreciate this group behind me. All of them did an excellent job. Randy, he took an operations area. Kendall had an operations area. Brandon was assigned safety when we started. You know, and there's, of course, we feel like everything went very well. Nobody got hurt. We didn't lose any property off-site. We did have damage, but we didn't lose any property off-site, and that was very important to me to focus on that. But all in all, I can't say how well it went. I think it went really good. Couldn't have done it without everybody involved and everybody working together. There wasn't no, you know, there's jobs on the fire scene some people don't want. But I want to give a shout out to Jeff Brooks, the chief at Fremont Fire Department. He had his SUV there, and we were trying to figure out how we were going to get food to everybody. It was like clockwork. Every 15 to 30 minutes, they were bringing food and drinks to all the crews. So they really knocked that out of the park, and they continued that for 24 hours. They just kept running. So I can't say enough to everybody. I can't mention all the names. OSFM, Gerald Rayner, and Mr. Tony Bailey stayed in the command post with us, helping us make decisions. But all in all, I think it went well. And of course, there's always things we can improve on. We're going to do some debriefings and do some after-action plans to see what we could do even better. But I can't say enough for the people in the community for bringing food to church groups, to Boy Scouts. I mean, people just dropping water off at every site. We had so much food, we had a ton left over, so we donated that to the Red Cross, some of the local food pantries and few food kitchens. Depending if the people donated it to us, we wanted to pass it on to other folks. But I can't say enough for every organization, the sheriff's office, the city maintenance department for helping us with some water issues we had, Southern Wayne Sanitary District for making sure we had plenty of water. Some of the people in the area did suffer some water loss and down pressure for a while, so we were trying to mitigate that issue. But just everything going on, it went smooth. Couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. You know, it just went very well, and I can't say how much I appreciate the community and their help and all the businesses that donated. But without this whole group, it's not a one-person thing, it's a whole group thing, and everybody did an excellent job. Like I said, I think the thing I'm most proud of is we didn't report an injury. And when you have almost 400 firemen there working some odd hours, the EMS didn't have to do, fortunately for EMS, they didn't have to work too hard. They had to be there, but we didn't get anybody hurt, and we didn't have any civilians get hurt, and we didn't lose any more property around it. We had damage, but we didn't lose any. So I'm very proud of that, and I can't say enough to the crowd that's behind me here that how hard they worked. And like I said, I appreciate the commissioners. They were there. Of course, there was financial concerns, and they said, well, we'll deal with that later. Let's just get it done. So, but thank you to everybody, and I can't say enough how much I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brian, I mean, I know how stressful it is to be in that situation at all. I mean, Larry's been in some situations like that before. You got to make decisions and go with them, and you did a great job. The whole team did a great job. You know, I don't leave Chip out. Chip was there on the scene as well, county manager. But I tell you, it makes you proud to be an emergency service family in Wayne County, and they did a lot of great compliments from people across the state that that I've got contacts with over the years that has made want to know if there's anything they could do. But we appreciate what y'all done, and your community does too.
And let me say, and Chris, thank you for reminding me, but the support that you, Commissioner Aycock, and our county manager give us while we were there is, I mean, that goes a long way. I know others, we're probably supporting us in the background, but to have that there to say, hey, we need this, and to be able to say, we'll deal with that later, goes a long way. So, and we appreciate all the support the commissioners give to our volunteers throughout the county, not just the ones here today, but throughout the county. They provide a service to us that's, and Wayne County's always had a great fire service anyway. But they, we continue to try to provide that service, for our citizens in the county.
Keying in on that, I mean, the majority of these firefighters were volunteers.
Yes.
That they left at 1:15 or whatever, and some of them didn't get back till 6, 7 o'clock
Sunday mornings.
Yeah, some of, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Every one, other than one department, Kinston Fire Department sent a truck over. But they had to ask for people that were off duty,
Right.
you know, to volunteer their time. Now, whether they got paid for that or not, I don't know. But every one of these Anna County agencies were volunteering, and they took time, you know, they were contacted, you know, shortly after 11 o'clock on Saturday, and they were at our place by 4 o'clock.
But that says
You
a
know.
lot for the volunteer fire
Yeah.
service in Eastern North Carolina.
Yes.
That they took their, you know, their volunteer out of county, you know, took their weekend basically to come help us, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and that, you know, and it goes on to say that our volunteers, everybody that responded were volunteers, and some of those came out at 1:30 in the morning, didn't go home till well after midnight, because once the Wayne County departments were released, their job wasn't done because they had to go back to station, get the trucks back in service.
People don't realize how much, I mean, some kind of, I'm not gonna say complain, but maybe second guess some of our purchases that we have to make in the fire service. And if it's got red paint on it or yellow paint, depending on which fire department you're on, it's expensive, and it's getting more expensive every day.
If it's
But there's no telling how many millions of dollars of fire equipment was on the scene. I got one picture. Well, I've got 100 pictures, but I got one picture of the tanker task force just sitting in front of the place midday Saturday. Actually, right after I talked to you, Randy, and it's just, I mean, and we're talking 2,000+ gallon tankers.
Yes.
Sitting there, and it's just, you say, I mean, you know, it's kind of one of the things you hope you don't never need it when you buy it, but when you need it, you need it, and so that's.
And I don't think I'd be doing the association or volunteer fire departments justice if I didn't put this little plug in for anybody out there in the community. And it doesn't really matter if you're listening to this in another state or another county. The volunteer fire service needs your help. There's a position or a job for every single member in the community on the fire department. Not everybody wants to fight fire. Not everybody wants to drive the truck. But there is a job, whether it's, you know, if you're good with financials, there's a job for that. If you're good with record keeping, there's a job for that. So if there's anybody out there that wants to volunteer or has got some time to volunteer, the association has a committee put together for recruitment and retention. They have a website. They can contact my office, and I'll be glad to direct them and give them some information on the volunteer fire service. So I think it would be an injustice if I didn't put that little plug in while I was here today.
Agreed. But we're
Commissioner Gurley, I do the same thing at his
Oh, yeah. We're blessed to have a strong emergency service office. As you said earlier, Wayne County's been at the forefront of the fire service for many years. I think we kind of broke Michael in the hard way. One of the biggest fires we've ever had in the county, but as emergency management director. But it's but we're blessed to have you, and our community knows that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, I got two
Yes, sir.
points here. One, I'd like to also extend my thanks to everyone. You guys did a great job. God bless you. Second, just looking at the fire and the location, it appears there was no planning by this company with fire in mind. And that leads to my second point is, do you guys participate with companies just to go in and do a site plan in case of a fire?
In a lot of cases, the volunteer fire departments, those areas that within their district, they'll reach out, and I know they go out, and I know everybody behind me has places in their district where they go out. I wouldn't say a regular basis, but at least once a year or so to pre-plan it, if you will. What would we do if this happened? I know for a fact that this particular facility, the fire chief and myself had at least 2 or 3 conversations on what would we do if this happened. And really and truly, I think with our conversations that we had and me happened to be the one that was on call for emergency services that night, I think that fit well because I knew what Tommy was thinking and he kind of knew what I was thinking as far as what we needed to do. And and I'm sure he had already discussed that with the other departments that are here today. But yes, that does happen quite a bit in the fire service. They go out and visit these places and do a pre-plan, if you will, on different scenarios.
And I take it, unfortunately, these companies sometimes don't listen to your recommendations. I say that so you wouldn't have to.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come in.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing that.
Carol, can we make, can we see that his presentation gets put into our packet, please?
The presentation?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Sorry to create more work for you.
No problem.
And Joe, if I'm not mistaken, Joe has some videos that you could probably update you for you. And I'm going to say one more thing. Tommy, where's Tommy at?
Yes, sir.
That drone is a great tool for the fire service.
Yes, I'm already looking into purchasing a drone. With the state of North Carolina, of course, the drone, personal use is one thing, but when you get into emergency services, part of it's another.
Exactly.
So we are already looking into where we can get a drone. I don't want one that's super high dollar, but they can be used for search and rescue, water rescue, a lot of different things. We are looking into getting a drone and trying to get some people certified to fly the drone, because if you use it on an emergency, you have to have all your flight stuff and different things of that nature. We are looking
And
into
Tommy, I think there's a grant out there for that.
Yes, that's the difficult part with my department, is because we have too many, our paid staffing hurts us when it comes to grant time. If we have over 6 people that are being paid, then we're not really eligible for a lot of grants. But we're already looking into it. I mean, we're not talking about buying a major high-dollar drone to start with, just a small one to kind of get started with, like the ones that were used. I believe they're around $1,700 a piece. So we're looking to get one of those and starting and implementing a plan to have one, because the drones were tremendous in being able to do recon, to make the next decisions. As Brian said, the building out back was 38,000 square feet. There was a bunch of talk about trying to save it. The safety factor wasn't there, but with having the drone helped a whole lot. And also just having phones. Randy was able to send me pictures, what we call reconnaissance pictures, to say, hey, it's not worth a truck or anybody's life to try to save this building at that time. So, but yes, we are looking into a drone purchase and possibly getting a drone program started at our department to have different people certified to fly it.
Well, you can see you can see the progression of the fire, which way the wind's blowing, that kind of thing, how it's progressing over a certain amount of time. I noticed that on the skies I was kind of riding.
Yes, and it progressed. It kind of progressed real quick to start with, and then it kind of settled in. It was just such a big area. It progressed as it went. But
about 2:15, the wind changed directions.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. But I do appreciate everything that everybody's done, and like I said, we're always striving to improve what we can do, and we're going to have some briefings to see if we can do it even better next time.
Well,
hopefully there's not a next time. If it is,
it's not
no
all-
offense, I just hope it's not the Marmac. It seems like I'm up here talking to y'all too much. But
it's not all the time about fire trucks. It's other equipment that assist in the fire.
Exactly. We have a little side-by-side which was used for reconnaissance missions inside the plant once we could get in there. So that helps some too. So, and we're also looking at purchasing a newer side-by-side here in the next year. So just a lot of things like that help out. But again, we appreciate it and can't say enough for the help that we got from out of county and in county.
Thanks,
so
sir.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you. All righty, moving on to unfinished business. Number 12, a motion to approve a funding method for the construction of a 50,000 square foot building at Park East, shell building at Park East Industrial Park, and the appropriate budget amendment, and I'll refer to my memorandum. I'll try to explain it. This is regarding the funding options for a 50,000 square foot shell building at Park East and the use of funds for the construction of a 30,000 square foot shell building. The next 4 items, on your agenda, number 12 through 15, are all related to this one memorandum. Wayne County Development Alliance is currently in the process of finalizing plans on the financing and payment for the construction of 2 shell buildings in the Park East Industrial Park. The original idea was to finance the two buildings through a no-interest USDA loan sponsored through Tri-County. Those discussions were broken down. We could not get an agreement on it. We've so far not been able to complete that. So I recommend that the proceeds from the sale of the Hosokawa Shell building that had been set aside for product development in the amount of $1,313,781 be put towards the construction costs of the 30,000 square foot building, and the Wayne County Development Alliance will cover the remaining costs of the 30,000 square foot building. On the 50,000 square foot building, the total cost is $2,616,433. And in order to allow this project to move forwards, a budget amendment is being requested to use ARP revenue loss monies towards the construction of this building. Upon the sale of the building, the county would be reimbursed the amount of the sale proceeds. Any profits from the sale or of either building would be used for future product development. And that goes back to the motions that I need is number 12, a motion to approve that funding method for the construction of a 50,000 square foot shell building at Park East Industrial Park and an appropriate budget amendment. And that's.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the recommended funding method of a construction of the 50,000 square foot building at Park East Industrial Park and the appropriate budget amendment.
Okay, any discussion?
Are you seeing the votes on your boards yet?
Not now.
No,
We did earlier, or I did.
Right.
There we go.
Yep, got it.
Okay.
I still do not have it.
How would you like me to vote for you, sir?
Refresh.
Who's got to,
There's refresh.
well, that's what we finished the whole thing.
Do you have it?
Yes, I
Madam
have.
Chair?
Everybody has it but me.
You have raised your hand.
All right.
I'll raise my hand.
And I'll vote yes for you. Madam Chair, are you voting on your tablet?
Yes.
Got to be saved too.
Good. Motion passed unanimous.
Okay. Number 13 is associated with the same memorandum, is approve the use of the Hosokawa building proceeds towards the construction of a 30,000 square foot building at Park East and the appropriate budget amendment. And I would need a motion and a vote on that.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the use of the, pronounce that for me,
Hosokawa.
Hosokawa, building proceeds toward the construction of a 30,000 square foot building at Park East and the appropriate budget amendment.
Okay.
Just raise your hand.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Number 14 is a motion to provide a notice to proceed on the construction of the 50,000 and the 30,000 square foot shell buildings at Park East, pending attorney approval of the contracts. And I would need a motion and a vote on that one.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to provide a notice to proceed to construction 50,000 and 30,000 square foot shell building at Park East, pending attorney approval of the contracts.
Call for the vote. Did you get the vote?
No. Okay, thank you.
Motion passed unanimous.
The last one, because it is a economic development project, we need a motion to establish a public hearing on March the 7th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m. in the Commissioners' Meeting Room in the Wayne County Courthouse Annex at 224 East Walnut Street, Goldsboro, North Carolina, to receive public comments regarding an economic development agreement between Wayne County and the Wayne County Development Alliance for the construction of the two shell buildings at Park East Industrial Park in Goldsboro. I would need a motion and a vote on
Madam
that
Chair,
one.
make a motion to establish a public hearing on March 7th.
Okay, we have a motion, call for the vote.
Yeah, I mean, there's the agenda.
I did, are you?
What's going on? How do you attend the meeting?
You're in the meeting.
All right, thank you on that.
That's, no,
And that is all with that memorandum. Moving on to the consent agenda.
All right. We received the consent agenda during the briefing. If there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Right, hold tight. I'm getting there.
You got to say.
All right, call for a vote. New business?
Still won't let you?
It's redone, it should come up the next time.
If I might point out, Madam Chair, no one told me this, but when you sign in, you got to actually join the meeting. And since I had not joined the meeting, then my votes were not showing up. So hopefully now that I've joined the meeting, the votes will show up. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. You're quite welcome.
Okay, all right, moving on to new business. Item number 22 is a presentation by Finance Director Allison Spate of the quarterly financial statement for the County of Wayne fiscal year 2022-23 through December 31st, 2022.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, let's see here. All right, so I'm going to go over my slides, but in your agenda packets, you have a couple of reports that I provided, and that just gives you some more detailed information than what I'm going to present here today, because I'm going to be pretty brief, and then if you have any questions. So this information is from July through December of this fiscal year. And I'm going to start with the county and then go into tourism after that. So right now, our property tax revenues, we've collected $44.4 million for the year. That is $3.1 million more than this time last year. However, if you recall, we did have a tax rate increase. And some of that timing can be due to how our large taxpayers when they pay their bills. Some of them, it might be December, and some of them, it may be January. So sometimes that can actually go back and forth. We've reached about 73.89% of our budget, which is typical because our big collection months are December and January. For vehicle taxes, we've collected about $4.3 million. We are about $400,000 ahead of last year. This is also affected when you increase the tax rate. It does affect your vehicles. But again, I know we've talked about this many times. The tax and tag program has really improved our collection rate, and so that does put it at almost 100%. So we have collected about 52.9% of our budget, so we are trending just a little bit ahead of our budget for the year. For our sales tax revenues, fortunately, we still have good news in that area. So last year when we presented the budget, we did increase them by a good amount because we had quite a bit of growth. We weren't really sure, if that growth would continue. That trend is continuing. We've collected about $15.9 million to date, which is an increase of $1.7 million over last year. So what we're seeing right now is approximately maybe a little over 9% growth of last year. So that's good news going into next year's budget. We've collected about 58% of what we budgeted. And this chart is just an 18-month chart for you. It just kind of gives you a visualization of where we are and how that compares to prior months. Other updates, we are getting ready to kick off our budget process with departments on Wednesday. That's a typo in my presentation. So tomorrow, we are having a meeting with our departments. This is what we call their budget orientation meeting. And this is where we get together with all the departments, the county manager, assistant county manager, budget team, review what the expectations are, what it looks like our trends are for right now, what they can expect as far as, updates to the system and things like that, and just gives them some guidance going forward. And then they are given a pretty good calendar of when everything's going to take place, their meetings, when they have to enter their information, and all of those things. We have been finalizing our CIP presentation with the county manager and the assistant and with Davenport. And so that will be presented to you all when the manager's recommendation is presented to you. I think it's on the 15th or 16th of May. And so I think we actually will have a work session to go over the CIP that day. So right now, we're really in the beginning phases of working on anticipated revenues, and there's still some that it's kind of hard to anticipate because some of our revenues in key areas do not really hit until March if they're quarterly. So some of that's still a little bit early to make guesstimates on, but we're getting there. The DSS health financing, I just wanted to give you a brief update on that. Bank RFPs were sent out last Tuesday. They are due Thursday, March 2nd, and then they will be presented on the following board meeting to you on March 7th. We are going to most likely schedule a work session that day so that you all can talk with Davenport about what proposal might be best. They have asked for submittals from banks, but then we will also be looking at a potential public sale. And so just like you did with the detention center, because we're in a rising interest rate environment, we'll look at that and determine, is it better to go public sale? Is it better to do a direct bank financing? And, how many years we want to spread that out and all those things. So we plan to have a work session that day to give you all plenty of time to discuss that and make a good decision on that. We do anticipate the closing date on that financing to be sometime in May. So we are working with the LGC staff and Davenport to make sure that we meet all the requirements so that we can have that done. Okay. And that's all I have for the county. I want to be brief. I know you all had a full agenda today, but if any of you have any questions on anything I've presented for the county, or otherwise I'll move on to tourism.
How did the LGC meeting go in February?
In February, it went well. It went well. We sat in on it, but it was on consent agenda, so it was approved, no problems.
Yeah, anytime your stuff's on consent agenda, you're okay.
Yes. Once we get that agenda and see where it is, then we can breathe a sigh of relief. So yes, that did.
One question is kind of
Yes,
sort
sir.
of not on this actually, but it's still concerning the budget.
Yes, sir.
Payroll,
Uh-huh.
the bi-weekly, how is that going? I got a couple of complaints, and I just wanted to know how it was going from your end.
So, as good as it can. A lot of this is based on our employees engaging with us in the information we've provided them. So, from our standpoint, we're still on track to have the transition begin in March with full completion in April. We have worked with HR to do town hall meetings. We've got a microsite set up. We've done YouTube videos. We've had department head meetings, and we've sent out pay stubs that were test pay stubs so the employees can see what a potential check might look like. There's a tool online where they can plug their salary in and see what that's going to look like. And the latest effort to kind of reach everybody and get questions addressed was they being people on my staff and HR are going to hold sort of like open office hours to allow individual employees to come in. I think they have 2 dates set so that they can come in and ask like real specific questions about their pay stub. So like if they got that pay stub, they can come in and say, okay, I don't really understand this. Can you explain it to me?
Okay, so you said when are you doing that?
There was an email that went out. I'll have to get that information for you.
Okay.
There was an email that went out, I think, to all employees, I believe. And then I believe it was stated for managers, that for employees that don't have emails, to make sure that the employees do get this information, that they can attend those.
Okay, because that was the main questions were, some were complaining, saying that they didn't, at the bi-weekly, that their salary was changing over the year. And I was just like, I don't know how that could be possible, but you know what I mean? I understand how people get confused sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, 1 month could have 3 weeks in it, the other one you're getting paid twice, the other one you're getting paid 3 times. So it could look a little bit different.
Right.
But as long as it come out to be the same thing at the end of the year. So I'm not a financial guru, but you know what I'm saying? I was trying to explain the best that I could, but knowing that you're having that, long as they get a better understanding, so.
Yes, sir.
And
March the 1st and 2nd.
March the 1st and 2nd, thank you. Thank you. So March the 1st and 2nd, and that's for all employees, and they can come. They don't have to make an appointment. They can come and talk with staff and get those questions answered. For the employees that may be asking you those specific questions, another good resource for them is our microsite. It's wayngov.com/payroll. There's all kinds of information on there, but there is a tool that they can go to. Public Affairs really helped us out making this like really user-friendly. You can put your base salary in, and it'll spit out what it's going to look like for
Okay,
biweekly.
that'd be great. That's great. That's great.
And that may help them see how the timing is going to catch up, because there is a timing difference.
Okay, and that's what I figured that because
Yes, sir.
different weeks might have three, like you said, three different pay periods in it. Some
Right.
months, I'm sorry, may have
Yes,
three different pay
and
periods, so
this-
it may look a little bit different.
That's true, and like this year in 2023, and one of the things we've been doing in our presentation to departments is this year in September, they'll have 3 pay periods in 1 month, but then next year they'll have that happen twice. So it does all depend on the timing and things like that.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir,
Thank
but
you.
thank you for bringing that up. And any other questions, feel free to direct them our way. We're happy to answer them.
Okay, will do.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll move on to tourism. I'd like to give you all an update on Tourism Authority because, that board, well, it is part of the county. It's a separate entity, but it is something that you all kind of worked on to create legislation for, and you do have representation on that board. So just to give you kind of a quarterly update for them. We finished our audit up and received an unmodified opinion, so it does have to have a separate audit and budget. And our collections at year end at FY '22 was about almost $40,000 over budget. Our fund balance did increase. Our revenues exceeded our estimates. Last year was a little difficult because we were rebounding from COVID, so it was hard to tell, but thankfully we did come in above budget. And this year is still trending upwards. Of course, Wings Over Wayne that Joel talked about earlier will help tremendously with that, I think. And so our revenues are already almost $120,000 for the year, but we are trending above budget. We're about 7.4% over where we were last year at this time. Our budget process is not very lengthy, so we're still in the very early stages. We usually wait to get a little more data in before we start doing any projections. But we will be working on that very quickly. That's pretty much all I have for tourism. Unless there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. All righty, thank you so much.
Just to make sure that, no questions.
Thank you, Allison. Moving on to item number 24, it's a discussion of recognizing and implementing Juneteenth as a paid holiday for Wayne County employees and appropriate budget amendment.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to allow 8 hours of paid personal observance leave for full-time employees to use at their discretion for any single day of personal significance, such as days of cultural and religious importance, to be effective as of July 1, 2023.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
And if I might, on discussion.
Yes. Discussion.
If he want to go first, he can. If he has something he has to say.
This flexible time off is to align our personnel policy with personnel policies of the state of North Carolina. This will allow our employees to choose their additional day off, which may be Juneteenth, President's Day, Yom Kippur, Earth Day, or any of the other 153 holidays or observances. I was shocked when I Googled to find out how many holidays and observances there are. And we have a very diverse employees are very diverse. And so therefore, this will allow the flexibility and will align with this state personnel policy. Thank you.
Commissioner Foster.
In simple terms, this is just a floating holiday.
Basically, and that's what state has, but the employee chooses.
What Commissioner Daughtry just stated is great information. The reason why I asked for this to be on the agenda was because it's a federal recognized holiday, and at some point, it's going throughout the states now. It's 18 states already has adopted it as a state holiday. At some point, it will come to North Carolina. Normally, we are one of the last states to approve a lot of different things and be progressive in different areas. But I'm pretty sure it'll be here at some point, sooner or later in the future. The city of Goldsboro has already adopted it as a paid holiday. You know, we have a military base here that observes it. I think it would be a great thing to get on board early and, you know, show that, you know, we are behind, you know, the changes that have been made in society and that we support them. As far as the other 150 holidays, I mean, you know, thank you for that information, but it doesn't have anything per se to do with this one in general. I think that, like I said, that when you're here, we recognize our military servicemen and women so often, and when they're celebrating that day, I think it's only right that our county do the same. You know, like I said, the city of Goldsboro has been progressive in deciding to take it as a paid holiday, and I thought that it would be a great gesture for us as well. I had previously put this on the agenda when Commissioner Daughtry was the chair, and he decided not to put it up there. So I knew he would have a problem with it today as well, in which you can obviously see that he did. So, you know, we celebrate July 4th. July 4th was actually really July 2nd, but they didn't sign the documentation until July 4th, 1776, which is independence. At that point in time, African Americans, Native Americans, natives to this country, weren't recognized as citizens. So that day never was recognized for them. At this point on Juneteenth, this day was recognized for them as a day of freedom in 1865. So that's the reason why I brought this to the attention of us. You know, if we celebrate July 4th, why not celebrate this day as well? You know, I think it's an injustice to even suggest what he suggested and not recognize this day. I like the paid 8 hours. Yeah, that's great to choose when you want. That's something that maybe we can do it at some point in the future for some other day. But this day right here has a very, very significant importance to the African American community, Black community, Native American community, and I think it's something that we should do as a board moving forward. I was gonna ask to have this put off to the next meeting so all all 7 of us could be here to make a decision on it, but if it's something that the board wants to move forward with today, I'm perfectly fine with it either way.
We got a motion on the floor. Discussion of recognition and promoting Juneteenth as a paid holiday, but as a floating holiday for the employees to use as they so freely want to, with the appropriate budget amendment.
Do we know about how much this is?
I think Ms. Faith was going to check on that.
Actually, I have this effective as of July 1, which will be in the budget, so it'll give them time to prepare for the budget for that.
We would put it in the regular budget ordinance.
Right, the new budget, yes.
Sure.
Okay.
We got a vote?
Mr. Burley, you had a question about the cost?
Yeah, he said you're gonna put it in the thing, so I don't really.
Okay, okay.
How much is it, do you know? We don't mind, don't worry about it.
The amount for all full-time employees to give them that benefit, which includes fringes, is around $180,000. Now, you're not going to necessarily, pay all that out, but
Yeah, but they would be working that day regardless.
They
so it's not-
would.
So we don't count the fringes, right? I'm just saying,
I think what you're really asking is like for those that get the holiday pay for working that, for like the sheriff's office, jail, 911, EMS,
Right.
that number is $64,000.
The way that it popped up on my screen, it's like I'm voting for what I stated, but then we're actually voting on the amendment of what
Yes,
he
sir. I
stated.
will-
So
because
therefore I
that
can't,
was-
and it wasn't seconded either, so I don't know if it needs to
We
be
don't have to have a second,
Okay.
but this was how you asked for it to be on the agenda.
Yeah, I understand that,
And,
yeah, so.
and I will get his wording exactly and change that to be reflected in the minutes on this motion. So the motion that you are voting on right now, and I have it on in voting mode is for the 8 hours personal time, not specifically for Juneteenth as a paid holiday.
Got you.
That is the motion on the floor at this time. To begin July 1.
Full-time employees.
Full-time employees.
Full-time employees only.
Yes.
Okay.
And the motion has passed. 4-1. Again, what is showing on the screen is not the correct motion. That motion was changed to 8 personal hours to be used any way the employee would like for full-time employees only, beginning July 1, 2023.
All righty, thank you for that. Moving, is there any further on that? I'll move to the county manager's report. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the fire, and I'm just proud of all of our fire departments. A great job, very professional, all of our staff, all the fire departments. Thank you for the outside agencies and their assistance. I'd also like to thank the public for their outpouring of support at the scene by the countless donations of water and food and supplies. It's heart, it touches your heart when you're there and you see these people come up just dropping off supplies and just doing anything they can do to help. And I'd like to thank the out-of-county fire departments that responded as well. They gave up their weekend, to come fight our fire. And I like that counts. That's just, they answered that call when we were in need. So a lot of kudos go to them. I'd also like to remind that we have the Farm Bureau luncheon here following the meeting, and we'll close the meeting right after that luncheon. We'll also, on February 27th, I'd like to remind you of the Wayne County Livestock Development Association annual dinner at 6:30 at the Maxwell. And also on Wednesday at 2 o'clock, there's another sewer AIA meeting at Wayne Community College in the Walnut Building, room 101, the same place it took the last.
What day was that again?
Tomorrow, Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's what kind of meeting?
2 o'clock. It's the sewer study meeting that we're participating in a regionalization study. And that's from 2 to 3:30.
I have a chamber board.
And, we have a busy day. So, also, that is all I have on for county manager's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Compass. All right. Commissioners report. Commissioner Daughtry.
I want to thank this board for acting on our economic development plan of building these shell buildings. We are missing out because we have no product, no buildings available. So unfortunately, we had applied for two $2 million grants, and that has fallen through. So it's kind of left up to us to find the financing to make this happen, and I appreciate this board taking that action today. They will be signing those contracts, and construction will begin almost immediately. Economic development is important. I think we have made some errors in the past to make sure that we were reimbursed at market rate for our product. That we have now solved. And so moving forward, I think we'll have recurring dollars that we can reinvest in additional product. But anyway, thank you. And I do, before I close, I do want to say this, and that is timber. Thank you so much for honoring Flowers Timber. That is a big, big theme for not only North Carolina, but for Wayne County. This was a company that was founded years ago,
76 by a former commissioner, Arnold Flowers. And he handed that off to his son, who has expanded it from just a Wayne County facility, but now an international facility. So just a great honor, and if we don't toot our horn, nobody else will. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Gerber?
Yes, ma'am. I want to, again, I've kind of harped on this, I guess, but I'm proud of our firefighters. I want y'all to kind of think about this for a minute. From about 1:30 a.m. on Saturday morning till about 3 a.m. on Sunday morning, they flowed over 2,200 gallons a minute to try and put that fire out. And the millions of dollars of fire equipment it took to maintain that flow, that is almost unheard of. And we reverted back to some of our old ways of firefighting with the drop tanks and 5-inch suctions and all. So that was a major fire. And to say they remanufactured the railroad ties for fuel. We saw what kind of fuel it takes, or it makes, because that was a hot fire. Also, the echo what Chip said just a few minutes ago about our out-of-county departments. We appreciate their dedication as our statewide mutual aid allows them to come in. But, we say, and they did give up their weekend, but they wouldn't have had it any other way. I know that we've done the same for them over the years, and we appreciate that. Also, the sheriff of Johnston County, I pulled up when he just pulled up on the command truck today. So gracious, let us borrow it again, and I kind of went up to Sheriff Bizzle, and I shook his hand. I said, "Man, I appreciate you letting us borrow the truck again." I said, "What is this, 3 or 4?" He said, "Well, it's 6, but nobody's keeping count." But he was just joking. We carry on a whole lot together, and but he said, and we agree. He said, "Look, Bo," and we do joke a lot. He said, "But there's not a county line between Wayne and Johnston County when it comes to emergency services," and that says a lot. I also want to thank Giorgio and Joe. Yesterday, I called them trying to get us a little faster internet connection, and they come and worked on that yesterday around lunchtime. And I just want to tell them thank you, because it did work faster as far as bringing up things.
As long as you're signed in.
Exactly. And the last thing is, as Commissioner Hardison said, I will do a plug in for our volunteer fire departments. We are still a strong organization, 850-ish strong across the county, but we'd like to get back to the 1,200 mark. So if you're interested in even looking at, just stop by. Most of your fire departments have meetings on Monday nights, but you can go to the Wayne County Firefighter Association website and click on the QR code and put your address in, and they'll tell you exactly where your fire department is, the address, and the days or nights that they train. So I'll leave it at that.
Commissioner Gurley, is there any age limit on volunteers?
16
is junior, 16 to 18 is junior, and from 18 to 90.
90, okay.
No, there's no, so, and the thing about it is after you get 20 years of service in, credible service, as in maintain your hours of training, you are eligible. If you pay into the retirement system, you are eligible to retire at 55, which I get my check this year. But you don't have to retire to get your check, so it's even a better thing. So, thanks, sir.
Commissioner Foster?
No comment.
Mr. Hardison?
Yes, I asked Cissy Lee Elmore to make a presentation to watch today. She made a very brief presentation, but I just want to point out some things that happens here. With the watch program, you can get an appointment within 2 to 3 days, which I find amazing with doctor's appointments these days, how long it does take. Over the years, they've seen 194,654 patients. That number, like she said, will go up to 200,000 this year. Another amazing statistic. But what really is amazing is the number of 30-day prescriptions. They've issued 7,831 prescriptions with a retail value of $5,747,318. I mean, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
And that pharmacy has only been open, I think, for about maybe a year or so now.
Where's it located?
Over at the hospital,
At the hospital.
behind the hospital at the Wash. Yeah, so they're doing an outstanding service to the community that I don't think is really being recognized there. So,
I was not aware that this was going on.
exactly.
myself.
And Commissioner Gurley, you've been impressed with the truck they have now.
Oh, yeah, it was, I remember the older one.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been out there helping them with that, with that drill before.
But I say all this to say one thing here. We have a lot of agencies here in Wayne County that go unnoticed. Our citizens in need know where they are and where to go to, but they go unnoticed, and I think we need to recognize some of these things that are going on.
Need to put it out more front.
Exactly, exactly.
Do they have an existing route?
Yes, they do. They have different routes. You can go on their website and see where they're going to be located.
So that website is what?
Yeah.
There you go. Gotcha.
So, again, they're doing a fantastic service, and I just want to make sure they're fully recognized.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair.
I have no comments, so we can recess to the Maxwell Center for the Farm Bureau luncheon.
Is that a good thing?